have a mansion. In the post-apocalyptic world by Morning Star LL. Chapter 71, Aisha's unique trait. The mansion's renovation had been completed 2 days ago. After checking out from the hotel, he brought Aisha to the mansion. With only 2 people, the massive estate did feel empty, but he was confident that one day, it would be filled with people. Hee. At night, Jiang Chen drove his Maybach S600 back to the mansion. He hummed as he parked the car in the garage, then realized that Aisha was already waiting for him. He smiled as he walked towards her after closing the door. "You don't have to wait for me at the door, I have the key," he said as he gently touched the dark brown hair. "You are my husband. As the wife, it is my duty to wait for you to come home." Jiang Chen forced a smile at the Han words that came stiltedly from her mouth. Husband? The unexpected event had been his fault, but who could control themselves under the influence of alcohol? Aisha's lack of resistance means part of the responsibility lies on her as well. No, a man must take responsibility. Worst case scenario, I'll have many wives. What rich guy doesn't have a mistress or 2, the only difference is whether it's been documented or not. She did say that she doesn't care too much about the procedures. At this point, Jiang Chen no longer contemplated the matter as he always lived by his desires. He glanced apologetically at Aisha as he let her undress him out of his suit and into casual clothing before they headed to the dining room for dinner. Dinner consisted of steak, roasted lamb, and fresh salad. The raw ingredients had been bought from the store and prepared by Aisha. It was evident that in order to fulfill her role as the wife, she spent much effort to raise her cooking skills. Finally, he could eat fine meals in his own home. Jiang Chen was pleased with the idea alone. By himself, his cooking could only be considered modestly edible. As for the lack of pork, he didn't mind as long as the meal tasted good. "Is the taste okay?" Aisha anxiously asked. "Delicious." Jiang Chen complimented her cooking with an affirmative nod. Besides a fork and knife, Aisha had thoughtfully prepared a pair of chopsticks for Jiang Chen. Although it was strange to eat steak with chopsticks, it was more convenient with spaghetti. Jiang Chen ate comfortably and without restraint since they were within the privacy of their home. Great. At Jiang Chen's compliment, Aisha sighed happily, then lowered her head and prayed before starting her meal. The steak was a little too overdone, but considering she had just started cooking, her accomplishment was already impressive. The salad received high recognition from Jiang Chen as he devoured it with gravy and peppered French toast. Overall, it was comparable to a meal at the restaurant. Although, he enjoyed eating rice and cooked dishes more. After dinner, Jiang Chen stately wiped his mouth before he praised Aisha once more, causing a shy smile to creep onto her face. This apathetic girl would only display soft tenderness in front of Jiang Chen. While Aisha took care of the dishes, Jiang Chen headed towards the gym on the 3rd floor. He picked an empty space before placing the training chamber down from inside the storage dimension. He then put 1,000 crystals inside the energy before sealing it. 1 crystal provided enough power for 10 hours, which meant 1,000 crystals was more than enough. Afterwards, Jiang Chen called Aisha to the gym. "I have something I need you to keep a secret, okay?" Jiang Chen gravely gazed into Aisha's eyes. "You are my life. I am willing to swear on my religion to prove my loyalty." Aisha's expression remained unchanged as she said this calmly. The moment Jiang Chen saved her, she had made an oath with her God. Jiang Chen nodded, and then smiled. "It's not that serious. I trust you. But what you'll see next will be unbelievable. If other people were to find out, it would not be good for me." He then led Aisha to the training chamber. It's a virtual reality training chamber. It will help you train the necessary skills while you're in a sleeping state. You only need to lie there and follow the directions of the system. Also, do you dislike weapons? This was the critical question, and Jiang Chen gazed into her eyes as he asked for her opinion. "I am willing to fight for you." Aisha's response was still calm. "Okay, but if you feel uncomfortable, you have to tell me." Jiang Chen nodded. She smiled faintly as she luxuriated in Jiang Chen's care. How could a woman who lived in the desert be afraid of weapons? She had seen too many tragedies, she was already desensitized to blood. If Jiang Chen needed her to pick up her weapon and fight for him, he only needed to say the word, she'd swing her sharp blade at his enemy without hesitation. Sensing the bloodlust in her eyes, Jiang Chen gave a strained smile as he attempted to adjust her mentality. "I think you're mistaken about something. I don't want to train you into an assassin, I only need you to learn some combat abilities to use in dangerous situations as a bodyguard. For this, you need to learn Han, how to drive, and combat skills. As for the weapons guide in the training chamber, take a look only if you're interested. If not, there's no rush." Aisha nodded. Although she didn't voice it, she had already made up her mind to learn everything. Jiang Chen was delighted seeing Aisha understand his intent. A beautiful driver and bodyguard, the idea alone sounded fantastic. "You don't have to go to class anymore, this training chamber is much more efficient to learn with. Also, you can first lie on that yoga mat. Jiang Chen scanned the room, only to find that it was the only viable location. Aisha's face turned red and prepared to unbutton her clothes. Seeing her action, Jiang Chen immediately realized the miscommunication. Ahem, no, not that. You just need to lie down, no need to undress. Jiang Chen quickly stopped her. Confused, Aisha looked at Jiang Chen before slowly lying down on the yoga mat. To improve your body condition, I'll inject a newly developed medicine. It has no side effects and will improve your muscle strength and reflex. He tried to find a better way to word his explanation. Suddenly, Aisha placed her finger gently against his mouth. A cheerful smile appeared on the cold face. I'm willing to do anything for you. Jiang Chen paused, and then grabbed her hand as he sincerely said, thank you. By saving him the trouble of coming up with an explanation, she was showing her tenderness. Jiang Chen took out the sea-level genetic vaccine. Recalling the injection procedure, he gently raised her arm and slowly pushed the needle inside her soft skin. The pain was like an ant's sting, making her voice a small shout as her eyebrows tightened. Jiang Chen took a deep breath before carefully pushing the vibrant red liquid into Aisha's body. Done. Relieved, he pressed the prepared cotton swab on her arm and signaled that she could get up. What he didn't understand was why her face had turned so red. Within 3 days, the effects from the vaccine will start to appear. Every morning and night, train in the gym for an hour before going into the training chamber to study. The liquid in there can also enhance your skin and body condition. Once you're submerged in the liquid, don't be anxious as the machine will ensure your breathing. And also, Jiang Chen couldn't bear to approach the uncomfortable topic coming up. Aisha concentrated on Jiang Chen as she waited for him to finish. Ahem. It was too important to be skipped. After a moment's hesitation, Jiang Chen forced himself to say, after you lie down, the nervous connection system will prompt an option for you to select. When you press initiate, a catheter will be inserted into your body. It might feel odd, just don't move. In the end, the English words flew rapidly out from his mouth, surprising even himself. Aisha's face immediately turned red as she unnaturally grabbed her clothes. In the end, she still obediently nodded. Soldiers who used the virtual reality chamber could not completely remove the sensation of pain. If they underestimated injuries, their ability to survive would be drastically decreased, so the military's version of the training chamber simulated real wounds as long as it was not over the pain threshold. The issue then was that when experiencing pain, often due to the intense stimulation, some unexpected consequences would crop up. Such as excreting waste. Nobody wanted to stay in nutrient supply polluted by human waste, so these training chambers were designed with excretion systems that solved the user's biological needs. Due to the unique material of the ergonomic pipes, they would be inserted into the appropriate places. The comfort level differed based on the individual, but it would not hurt so much as feel odd. After each use, the part inserted into the body was replaced. The back would be okay, but from the front? Although the body would be secured in place, it would still be dangerous for people to struggle against the process. Sun Jiao had emphasized this point several times before looking mischievously down at his lower body. Naturally, Jiang Chen had to tell Aisha, who was about to use the equipment, to prepare her mentally. But it was embarrassing, especially from guy to a girl. In the gym, Aisha hesitantly touched the training chamber. Pass through there? Just thinking about it made Aisha's face blush from embarrassment. It was a necessary biological function. Her legs felt weak, but she dragged her steps to the training chamber and then stopped. She took several more deep breaths, which made the outer covering that looked like clear fluids fog up with a fine mist. She bit her lips as she made up her mind, and then took off her clothes before she carefully stepped into the training chamber. The chamber closed on her, making her anxiety spike. Claustrophobic? Unable to move? It was difficult to pinpoint the reason, but Aisha's usual calm heart kept pounding and pounding. The nervous system structures connected to the base of her neck and gradually pushed her head backwards. A soothing electric pulse passed through her, and she felt a movable mouse focus on her pupils. The training chamber was user-friendly and allowed language customization. She waited for a few more minutes before finally moving the mouse to the initiate button. Initiate. The edges of her conscience grew fuzzy, as though she was about to fall asleep. Aisha relaxed her body. A soft material pressed against her joints as a protection mechanism that would be removed once she entered deep sleep. The level of the nutrient supply in the chamber gently rose, making her feel comfortable. The only part that worried her was the object pressed against her lower body. The back was okay, but the front? The tube-like object seemed to be the excretion system Jiang Chen had talked about. Despite her mental preparations, when it began to search like a thread entering a needle, she tensed up again. It would be okay after a few tries. Aisha constantly comforted herself, then made up her mind and chose the deep sleep button. A cold sensation. Her limbs tensed up in response to the suspense. Aisha bit her lips hard, trying to ignore that odd feeling. It feels weird. This is not right. This feels... no. Warning. Due to the user's excited state, deep sleep mode has been terminated. User, please adjust emotion. Deep sleep mode will be reset in 30 seconds. She stared blankly at the warnings on her pupil, regathering her breaths that came in short pants. She felt the odd wetness that left her completely dumbfounded. That can't be. But how? Chapter 72, I have only 2 words for you. Disregarding Aisha, who had entered a state of confusion, Jiang Chen brushed his teeth and lied comfortably on the soft bed. It felt different from sleeping in the mansion. The elegant chandelier, the calming decorations and wallpaper, and the soft bed that you could almost sink into. In the 10-square-meter bedroom he previously occupied, either way he rolled, he would hit the wall. But on this enormous bed, 2 extra inhabitants could easily fit onto it. Enjoying the luxurious environment, he grabbed his new iPhone 6 and clicked on the cute little white on the screen to open WeChat. To be fair, once the trend died down, he switched back to the simple screen function. Perhaps this was Future 1.0's shortfall? People could download the 53-megabyte app out of curiosity, but once the initial excitement cooled down, people would discover the inconvenience of word commands. For example, speaking to themselves in public could be awkward and playing with the phone in class difficult. Du Yongkong didn't belong in this era. The program he designed may have been perfect, but it did not match this day and age. Jiang Chen missed this point as he previously thought having the technological edge alone would be enough, but he forgot that any software must be combined with creativity to be successful. Minecraft was a good example in that although the game was simplistic with pixelated images, the playability was comparable to most AAA games. It was by good fortune that Little White managed to fit another demand by coincidence. A companion that would never betray you, always at your side to comfort and encourage you, and always on your computer. As an electric pet, Little White would respond with his full attention to whatever was said to him. Any secrets could be shared without worry, and in this technological world where people were growing further apart, burdened by the pressures of life, they often lacked a listener. If he didn't know that artificial intelligence lacked any true emotion with reactions based on a database, Jiang Chen would gladly chat with this little guy. But since he knew the underlying secret, it felt strange talking to a lifeless creature. It still felt more real to speak with a human being. Just as he was about to chat with Lu Yao, his phone rang. Unknown number? It was pretty late, perhaps it was a telemarketer again. But since he didn't have anything better to do, he lazily picked up the phone. Hello, who is this? Slouching, he changed to a more comfortable position. After a brief silence, a voice finally transmitted from the other caller. It's me. Do you still remember me? The shy voice made Jiang Chen pause. Why does this voice sound so familiar? Who is it? Fang Yuanyuan took a deep breath to try and make herself sound more natural. She had already deleted Jiang Chen's number a long time ago, but when she found out the poor guy who tried to date her had become rich and handsome, even living in a 100 million RMB mansion, Fang Yuanyuan couldn't sit around any longer. The arrogance of Xiao Menjing also made her especially disgusted and jealous. Whenever she thought about Xiao Menjing, she became enraged. The 2 million bonus slipped out of her hands just like that. The general manager even praised her multiple times for her impressive sales record at the recognition meeting. It should have belonged to me. Fang Yuanyuan's enmity made her forget that she was the one who had pushed him away. It wasn't too late. From Xiao Menjing's words, she could tell that the SL*T didn't manage to completely eat up Jiang Chen. Realizing that she still had a chance, she used all of her efforts to finally get Jiang Chen's phone number from a university classmate. She even wrote a script. She planned on using the distressed card to win his sympathy. Then she would hint at her single status, and all because of him. A cocky smile appeared on her face as Fang Yuanyuan patiently waited for Jiang Chen to take the bait. Sorry, who are you? The words that came from the phone frustrated her, making her curse Jiang Chen's dullness. She adjusted her mentality to sound as if she'd been wronged. This is Fang Yuanyuan. Have you forgotten me already? Fang Yuanyuan? Jiang Chen frowned. Why is this girl calling me? Did I not embarrass her enough? He wanted to hang up right away out of annoyance but then smirked at a thought that occurred to him. After spending too much time with Sun Jiao, he had turned into an evil person as well. Oh, Fang Yuanyuan, what's up? Jiang Chen casually answered. Using a gentle voice would have the best effect and he was confident that he had the acting skills to pull it off, but he didn't want to waste too much effort on this green tea bit*H. He was only looking to have some fun. Were you sleeping? Fang Yuanyuan heard Jiang Chen's response and couldn't help but feel delighted. She could sense an opportunity, but instead of cutting straight to the point, she carefully asked if Jiang Chen was asleep. Not yet. Is there anything you need? I'm about to sleep. His tone lacked any sign of the frustration that he felt. Last time? Sorry, Fang Yuanyuan gently said. Oh? What are you referring to? Jiang Chen responded. The last time when you came to buy a house. It's my fault for misunderstanding you, Fang Yuanyuan said remorsefully. Apologizing? Jiang Chen wasn't so sure anymore. If she wanted to apologize for her actions, there was nothing he couldn't forgive since it was not a big deal to begin with. But just as Jiang Chen was about to express his understanding, Fang Yuanyuan continued speaking. Do you know? The second you showed up, my heart was beating so fast. This sentence almost scared Jiang Chen into flinging his phone away. What the foo asterisk K? What are you trying to act out? A Korean drama? You. He resisted the urge to throw up, forcing himself to not hang up and instead listen for the sake of hearing out the entire story. I was afraid that you hadn't forgotten about me. Do you remember? When I rejected you, you were so sad. Watching you in secret, I felt troubled as well, but at the time, I couldn't be with you. Fang Yuanyuan masterfully controlled her sorrowful voice as she told the story sincerely. I really wanted to say yes, but my father didn't let me, wanting me to marry his friend's son with whom I was promised to at a young age. I was always resentful of the idea, and in the end, I realized that the person in my heart is. It's me, right? Jiang Chen mockingly interrupted. He couldn't bear it for a second longer. Why did she need to find an excuse to be a bit asterisk H? If she had been straightforward and admitted it, then Jiang Chen wouldn't have felt this grossed out. Yes. Fang Yuanyuan blanked out. Jiang Chen's reaction was not what she had expected. His tone made her feel that something was off. Not a bad script. If you added a heartfelt cry, perhaps it would match a third-tier Korean drama. But there is one thing I don't understand. How could someone be so shameless? Fang Yuanyuan's face turned ashen. Now that I have money, you regretted your decision and became a gold digger, pulling off this bullsh T. You really think I'd fall for this? Jiang Chen grimly stared at the ceiling as he spoke emotionlessly into the phone. You really think I'm only after your money? The voice was almost whimpering. Is it not? Jiang Chen burst out laughing. You rejected me, I don't blame you. Everyone has the right to say yes or no. I only blame myself for being incompetent, too blind to see the truth. You only used me when you needed me and ignored me when you didn't. I thought I liked you, but I was too naive. A mocking smile curved on Jiang Chen's face. He remembered that in his first year, he ran through the rain for several kilometers just to give her an umbrella because he thought her sweet smile was worth it. The reality was that everything had been an act. His best friend from the same class told him that Fang Yuanyuan already had 2 boyfriends between first and second year, even getting an abortion for a rich and handsome man. Everything had been hidden away from Jiang Chen at the time since his buddy didn't have the heart to tell him, afraid of ruining their friendship. But after seeing Jiang Chen's sorrows after his rejection, the truth came out. Jiang Chen remembered that he started laughing when he heard it. At that moment, it no longer seemed to matter. Who hadn't been hurt by a bit asterisk H before? And now you still expect me to accept you? To care for you like I did before? I only have 2 words for you, dumb asterisk S. Jiang Chen harshly hung up. A gloom cast itself over Fang Yuanyuan's face as she bit her lips to the point of turning white. Her eyes were filled with overwhelming shame. Is this still the same foolish guy? That's impossible. He rejected me, embarrassed me. Hatred, humiliation, and no longer any regret. Negative emotions began to overwhelm her conscience as if everything was Jiang Chen's fault. She selectively ignored her despicable actions in the past and how awful she had been at Wanhua real estate. A crazy thought occurred to her. Fang Yuanyuan's finger trembled as she opened her contact list and found a name that made her shiver just by looking at it. Perhaps the devil erased her conscience. She made up her mind and called that number. Oh? Girl, do you miss me? The flirty tone frustrated Fang Yuanyuan, but she couldn't show the slightest contempt for this man. Pervert, I'll tell you something. I have a friend that made some money. No, he is clean with no background. I know that guy, he just got lucky. Fang Yuanyuan used a coquettish voice that even she was disgusted by. Hearing the confirmation on the other side, a smile bloomed on her face. After praising some more, Fang Yuanyuan hung up and flung the phone far away. As if drained by the phone call, she leaned against the cold table. Lu Shiqiang, the son of Hongyi gang's head in Wanghai City, and also the gang prince who had forced her to play with 5 people. A shameful tear rolled down Fang Yuanyuan's face, soon twisting into a wicked expression. Jiang Chen, you despicable pig. I want to see, with all of your money, if you can mess with the gang. Chapter 73, Career Fair. Jiang Chen woke up early the next day. It seemed Aisha stayed in the training chamber for the entire night but still managed to wake up before he did to make breakfast. Although he was eager to ask about her opinions on the virtual reality training system, as he opened his mouth, Aisha's face became a dusk red. Jiang Chen figured it was better not to ask, so he gave up. After breakfast, he pestered Aisha to avoid focusing so much that she forgot her meals before heading down to the garage and driving his luxury Maybach to the company. When he arrived, Jiang Chen saw that Xia Xiyu was already waiting for him while constantly checking the time. He smiled grimly when saw the thick briefcase. The girl was too much of a workaholic, the day had just begun. You're late by 2 minutes. Opening the car door, Xia Xiyu settled into the front passenger seat. Isn't the first sentence supposed to be good morning? Jiang Chen tried to crack a joke before he started the car. She put on the seatbelt and after a brief pause, murmured, because it is work time. Do you take the subway every day? That's too inconvenient. Why don't I give you a car? You have your license, right? Jiang Chen casually said. That wouldn't be good for the company. It has yet to develop a method of stable revenue, and you are already providing benefits to the executives. Xia Shiyu's eyebrows furrowed, her hands clenched on the briefcase as she focused on its button. It's okay. It would be too embarrassing for the CEO of a trillion-dollar company to have no ride. You don't have to worry about revenue generation. The future 1.0 functions have yet to be fully unlocked. For example, antivirus, social media platforms, and even replacing the original operating system. Are you still worried about revenue generation? He smirked confidently. Drawn by the confident smile, she was immediately shocked by the new information. She abruptly said, Future 1.0 already has other functions? Why didn't you tell me? Her eyes looked accusingly at him, as if he had neglected her. He did not purposely hide it, just that he had forgotten it in the back of his mind. Of course, it's based on strategic considerations. Future 1.0 can grow right now because we are not in a direct competition with apps under other tech giants. That means we can still work with them given the opportunity. It was no wonder Xia Xiyu was made to be a CEO, she immediately understood his intention. Since she didn't need to focus on monetary concerns anymore, the initial stage was focused on reinforcing their place in the market. Once a large enough user base was established, it would take guts to try and shake Future 1.0's position. Wanghai University. On the grassy field stood a stone on which the mighty strokes of ink showed the mark of time on its surface, Wanghai University. It was rumored that the stone had witnessed the fall of a dynasty and the rise of a republic. It was present during the merciless gunfires and passionate speeches. Not once did it alter itself to fit an era, the only thing that changed were the people passing by. He watched the countless lively figures, reminiscing about the past. Truth be told, he never expected to return to his school. He did not leave much of an impact, so at reunions, he would not have much to do. He could not help but exclaim at the miracle that is life. In just 1.5 years' time, he managed to return as the president of Future Technology to hire at his own school, to hire new talents from the place that had taught him. Now that I think about it, we are both alumni, so how come you became the manager right away and I became your employee? Jiang Chen joked around lightheartedly. Along the way, countless envious looks were directed at Jiang Chen. Of course, he knew it was towards the car, not himself. A Maybach S600, a decent number of people recognized the price of the car. But the tinted windows blocked the curiosity of the young men and women, leaving them with their imaginations. To be honest, he enjoyed receiving this sort of envy. Because when he rode his bicycle down the same road, no one gave him a second look. Now the situation has turned around, hasn't it? Xia Xiyu said mockingly. She knew Jiang Chen was not the type to hold on to the past, so she was not sensitive about the topic either. Jiang Chen didn't disagree, only smiling and enjoying the fulfillment. It was not long before they entered the parking lot of the library. Under the guidance of the 2 student union leaders responsible for greeting, they arrived at the event hall. The hiring fair would start promptly at 9 o'clock, and there was still half an hour left. Senior Jiang Chen, I hope you don't make it too difficult for our juniors. Of course, but Miss Xia Xiyu will be the one mostly responsible for the hiring, he answered. Jiang Chen had a positive impression of this ponytailed student union leader. Many seniors who are applying today are your fans, student union leader Zhang Bingli said as she blinked. Oh? My fans? Jiang Chen sat up, interested. Especially the seniors in mechanical engineering, they are your juniors. Jiang Chen forced a smile when he heard it was the mechanical engineering major. Although it was considered a technical degree, the employment was higher in nearly all other majors. It was not that the major itself was useless, but too many people studied under it, depreciating the major's value. Don't be surprised, Senior Jiang Chen, but there are a lot of people applying together, the student union leader joked around. Jiang Chen shrugged as he smiled, indicating that he was more than prepared for it. Half an hour passed quickly, and the hiring fair officially commenced. Software-related positions were the focus of the morning. Despite preparing himself, the number of applicants still far exceeded his expectations. It could only be described as hectic. It was fortunate that the student unions managed to control the situation by using a number system to direct traffic. They also suggested that applicants with later numbers look at other companies first before returning. A temporary fence was then set up around the table's entrance. Despite these efforts, Jiang Chen continuously received resume after resume. The new generation of future leaders made up the largest portion of Future 1.0's user demographics. Therefore, the company had a significant influence on these young individuals who were at the forefront of new ideas. Everyone saw the potential of the artificial intelligence software. It would not take long for the relatively unknown future technology to become the current Tencent or Ali, stunning the domestic industry and eventually the global technology sector. Even their professor professed that he could not understand the theory behind the artificial intelligence called Little White. Hello, Mr. Jiang. I have always looked up to you. I am a computer engineering major. You're not even trying when you suck up to me. I was unemployed half a year ago, and you say you've always looked up to me. I am a graduate, with experience as a recognized student governor and performed well within the organization. Then why don't you go apply to become a politician? Why are you here? I am a graduate from the Software Engineering International Partnership class. I wish to apply for the program development position. Also, I have a question for you, if you don't mind answering for me. How did future technology develop artificial intelligence? From my understanding, internationally, the best in the field is IBM Watson. Am I interviewing you or are you interviewing me? Also, why do you sound like those critics on the internet who always compare Little White to the half-finished Watson? However, this was not what gave Jiang Chen the biggest headache. If you are a software major and you apply, that's fine, but why are you here if you are a singing major? Assistant? I don't need an assistant right now, Jiang Chen asked in confusion. The tall, gorgeous beauty smiled mischievously with her vibrant, red lipstick. Ignoring Xia Xiyu and the other interviewing students, she leaned on the table and came closer to Jiang Chen. As the president, you will need an assistant. My work will make you truly satisfied. Afterwards, she shook her cleavage under her V-neck dress at an angle that only he could see. The confident beauty then gently waved her hair and winked at him, a meaning that all men would understand. Jiang Chen didn't know how she had managed to get in. This was one of the few times he wanted to focus on work, and he didn't come here to do those things. Before Xia Xiyu could shoot a despising glance over, Jiang Chen, with a stern face, rejected the girl who obviously wanted to experience the implicit rule. He promptly kicked her out, shock still showing on her face. You are funny, am I this easy to get? Do I look like I would want to bang every beauty I see? If you want to seduce me, pick a time without other people around. Ahem. These people only made up a small percentage. The majority handed in their resume and explained their technical skills, desired position, understanding of the position, as well as an outlook for the company under 3 minutes. As for the awards and certificates, Jiang Chen didn't bother looking those over. One reason was that he had always hated to take tests, and the other was that he didn't believe these papers would bring any quantifiable revenue. A groundbreaking product already existed, the company lacked creativity and insight, not software developers. Creativity and insight could be discerned in a few sentences. The students with heavy backpacks all became sorrowful as Jiang Chen shoved their certificates to the side without a glance. Due to the high number of applicants, he became pickier and more critical. By noon, the morning interviews had finally ended. Jiang Chen stretched, glancing at Xia Xiyu who was organizing the resumes. She didn't seem the slightest bit tired. How are you not exhausted at all? I am used to it. Only 2 hours are left in the afternoon, which will focus on legal and marketing positions. There should be fewer applicants. Xia Xiyu organized the papers as she pushed up her glasses. Lunch was provided by the school cafeteria free of charge. The school generously donated their services for the corporations participating in the hiring fair. The student union members from before worked tirelessly to put the steaming meals in front of the hiring managers. Jiang Chen, who was already hungry, began to devour the meal that tasted familiar. Xia Xiyu, on the other hand, ate with grace and elegance, yet still managed to finish the lunch quickly to continue scanning through the resumes. Coffee. Jiang Chen brought 2 cups of coffee over, casually placing one at the corner of her table. Xia Xiyu paused before burying her head to resume staring at the resume. Thank you. Jiang Chen laughed to acknowledge it was not a big deal. He then leaned against the chair and closed his eyes. What he didn't notice was that because of his casual act, someone stared blankly at a word for 10 minutes straight without realizing. Chapter 74, Alumni Dinner. Due to the reduced number of applicants in the afternoon, the two combined their tables to conduct interviews together. My name is Chen Lulu, graduating from law at Wanghai University. I'm here to apply for the legal assistant role at your company because I'm a loyal fan of Little White. The girl who was being interviewed articulated her story clearly with a bright smile on her face. A fan of Little White? That sort of reason was a first. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows since it was the first interesting response he had heard that day after all of the, "I believe in the future prospects of the company," and, "I view the artificial intelligence market with optimism." Oh? So why don't you tell me the first thing you are going to do as a legal assistant at our company? Of course I am going to sue those copycats. Chen Lulu answered without hesitation. Jiang Chen laughed at the response. But though it was a fun answer and caught his attention, it was too emotional. He wanted to hear a more sophisticated answer. The legal field had no room for ambiguity. Jiang Chen didn't have much experience as an interviewer, but he had at least experienced the process enough. He had read up on interview tip books that gave clues in selecting the right candidate. Just as Jiang Chen was about to pass on her, Chen Lulu opened her mouth again. She briefly explained from a legal perspective the advantages future technology held, the rights of the software in the market that currently infringed upon future technology's copyright, the basis of their claims, and even how to fight the lawsuits. She explained the steps and procedures clearly and logically enough that even Jiang Chen, who was unclear on legal matters, was able to understand most of it. She then moved on to explain her opinions on the legal weaknesses within future technology's current system. Since Xia Shiyu's talent focused mainly on operations, she missed key points on the legal side. Though it did not have a large impact as of now, once the ball got rolling, those legal implications would become a hindrance to the company's growth. Clear, concise, logical, and articulate. Talent. A real talent. Jiang Chen peeked at Xia Shiyu, and when he saw that she had a similarly impressed expression, he stood up. Congratulations, Miss Chen Lulu. If you don't have any other questions regarding salary and benefits, you can start tomorrow. With a smile on his face, Jiang Chen extended his right hand. No problem. Hee. Yeah. Chen Lulu shook Jiang Chen's hand excitedly before she practically floated out the door. A base salary of 4,000 was above average for the graduating class. What could she possibly be unhappy about, especially given the future growth potential of future technology? It could only increase from now on. The fading enthusiastic cheers made Jiang Chen smile. This Chen Lulu's ability is quite exceptional, although a bit overzealous in personality. Xia Shiyu gave her impressions after giving it some thought. It's okay to have personality as long as she gets the job done. This is our future technology's work culture. Of course, she still needs your mentoring. Jiang Chen laughed as he packed away Chen Lulu's resume. Although they already decided on the candidate, they finished the procedures for the others. This was first to show respect for the applicants and second to make sure they had not missed an exceptional person. No one would reject talent. Given their company's trajectory, it wouldn't hurt to have another legal assistant. In the end, however, Jiang Chen was disappointed to see that no one came close to Chen Lulu. The only saving grace was finding a few interesting talents for marketing. After organizing the resumes with Xia Shiyu, they concluded the hiring session. In the evening was a banquet hosted by the university. It was an act of appreciation for the corporations that participated in the hiring fair. On the other hand, the majority of the firms had a form of connection to Wanghai University, such as having an alumni who had created the company. Therefore, this meeting served as a platform for sharing knowledge and establishing connections. If this banquet managed to help in fostering a deal, it would increase the value of the university in society. Xia Shiyu did not enjoy such gatherings, so she headed back, preferring to select candidates fit for open positions. This disappointed Jiang Chen slightly, but he didn't insist. This girl is working so hard. Perhaps it's time to give her a raise? He thought to himself as he watched Xia Shiyu leave. Because the majority of the corporations were still in the startup phase, their operations differed substantially. Among these companies, the bright star at the center of attention was future technology. Not many companies could draw such significant publicity in the initial stages. What shocked many, however, was that the rising star of this new tech company was only a 23-year-old recent graduate from the university. The student recruiting office had already begun to consider potential advertisements for the next school year despite the semester just starting. Without a doubt, Jiang Chen would be the poster child, displayed as a distinguished and successful businessman and alumnus. After the principal's opening remarks, people already began to approach him before the student representative had a chance to announce the start of the banquet. People were greeting and flattering, some wanted to establish a connection but most pulled up the topic of a partnership. The distinguished alumni who were looked up to by the juniors were not so well off. Not every startup company made money. This became evident looking at the sparse cars parked in the parking lot. Many presidents were too poor to afford a car. In fact, the people working for major corporations were most likely better off financially. Regardless, having their own companies was worthy of praise. A low period didn't mean too much in the long run, which was why all of the founders continued to persist. Jiang Chen accepted the greetings, but to the proposed partnerships, he gave a chuckle and a show of consideration before he turned them all down. The reason for his laughter was that some of these proposals were comical. For example, an alumnus who had graduated 2 years after him was operating a decent-sized clothing plant. He first introduced an idea pushed by the government called Web Plus, then steered the conversation towards a potential partnership after some flattering words. As for how the partnership would go, it would be called Web Plus Clothes. He went on to talk about producing merchandise using Little White as a platform for e-commerce. Jiang Chen initially displayed interest as it was not a bad idea. He then asked about the current plant and production capacity, which led to the guy scratching his head as he awkwardly revealed that they had recently received the loan and that the plant was still undergoing construction. If I can't even see it, what's the whole point of this conversation? But that was not the funniest one. A software service company with some success had the audacity to do an equity swap to form a win-win partnership and push Future 1.0 to the world. It's an excellent plan, but why would I need your company? I can do that by myself. Jiang Chen rejected him right away, but the guy refused to give up. He shamelessly pushed his business card at Jiang Chen before asking him to carefully consider the idea as it would be a monumental partnership for both companies. He clearly didn't eat his medicine before he left his house. But out of respect, Jiang Chen accepted the card. All in all, the banquet mood remained cheerful all throughout. The theater students performed creative plays to demonstrate their acting talent to the graduated class. Some of the performances were on par with those of professional celebrities. Wanghai University was indeed a breeding ground for talent. At the banquet, Jiang Chen was happy to meet his mentor Zhang Peng, who had taken care of him in the past. They had a few drinks like they used to before the mentor, who had no alcohol tolerance, started to spill out his difficulties. The graduating class this year is giving me a headache. Every year, we battle to get from last place to first place in employment percentage. They all ask me for advice. What advice can I give? This is the job market. I even founded a mechanics shop, but what can I even do? Jiang Chen, why didn't you create a mechanical production company? I can't even beg you to hire some people with a tech company. Zhang Ping drunkenly held his cup as he looked at Jiang Chen with a mock begrudging look. Ahem, you are drunk. Jiang Chen felt sad to see his mentor act like this. Zhang Ping used his efforts to find him a job back when he was unemployed and no one thought him a talent. Although he felt compassion for his teacher's situation, there was nothing he could do besides comfort him a bit more. I am not drunk. I can still drink. Zhang Ping reached for the bottle. Of course, no one allowed him to drink any more. Jiang Chen helped him to the washroom to allow him to puke before leaving. Just as he passed a table, a familiar voice called out by his ear. It's you? Looking at the girl in front of him with long hair and light makeup, Jiang Chen was confused since he couldn't recall who this person was. Who are you? PSHH, that day in the hospital. The girl covered her mouth. Oh, you are Wang Xinran? Jiang Chen suddenly realized. Yes, why? You can't recognize me with makeup? Wang Xinran asked jokingly. Ahem, yes, a little bit. Jiang Chen smiled apologetically. He took a close look at this lively girl, unable to match his impression of her from last time. Wang Xinran's eyes flashed slyly as she circled around observing Jiang Chen. I didn't imagine Jiang Chen and the Jiang Chen from last time were the same person. Jiang Chen shrugged, not knowing how to respond. What do you mean? Jiang Chen and Jiang Chen are the same person. My name has always been Jiang Chen to begin with. Hee, I was just curious. Don't mind me. Wang Xinran stared at Jiang Chen before asking, can you satisfy my curiosity, Senior Jiang Chen, a genius who cured rabies and introduced artificial intelligence? It depends on what you are curious about. Jiang Chen didn't disagree, but he became more alert, wondering if it was her or her father's curiosity. If it was from her father, then he had to be cautious. PSHH. Wang Xinran suddenly burst out in laughter, which confused Jiang Chen since he didn't know what was so funny. Don't worry, I'm not trying to ferret out your trade secret. I'm acting as the producer of our school news to interview our distinguished alumni. I hope you don't mind. Wang Xinran blinked cutely. Of course not. Relieved, Jiang Chen agreed happily. Then let's start. First, your university life. Wang Xinran produced a notepad out of thin air and began to ask her questions. Because it was not relevant information, Jiang Chen answered casually. The interview lasted for 15 minutes before Wang Xinran ran away, leaving Jiang Chen where he stood. Suddenly, however, she stopped halfway before turning around. "Oh, my father wants to see you, so please pick a time to meet him. He is getting old, and this has been on his mind." "Okay, no problem. What else?" Jiang Chen forced a smile. "Hee, that's it." "Oh, give me your phone number." Jiang Chen rolled his eyes, writing his phone number down on her notepad to finally get rid of this overly energetic girl that he could not seem to say no to. As for her father's position, he had already investigated into it. There were plenty of influential people in Wanghai City, but there were only a few major ones at the top. The only one among these with the last name Wang was the General Secretary Wang Dihai. Jiang Chen held a cautious attitude towards meeting this influential politician, but he had no valid reason to say no. A general secretary held authority in the central government. Regardless, for future technology, Wang Dihai's attitude was crucial. Jiang Chen didn't need to do much as future technology alone could grow without government assistance. As long as they didn't cause trouble for him, it was more than enough. Chapter 75, Because of Regret? The banquet concluded with thunderous applause accompanying the school management's closing remarks. Jiang Chen dragged his slightly intoxicated body to his car before stopping in his tracks. Fu*K, how can I drive if I drank? This is going to be a problem. A troubled smile appeared on his face. Although his body condition was stronger than an ordinary person's, enabling him to cleanse alcohol from his system at a faster rate, he was not like the masters in wuxia novels who could instantly dissipate the alcohol from their bodies. The police would find it hard to believe that he was not drunk. Key in hand, he hesitated, not knowing if he should take the chance. In the end, he sighed. He grabbed his phone and slid his finger across the screen but didn't who to call. Xia Shiyu just headed home, it would be inconsiderate to call her back. Lu Yao? When he saw that name, his finger paused before he pressed it without further thought. Hello? From the other end, a slightly lazy voice sounded, as if the speaker had been about to fall asleep. He pondered for a moment before opening his mouth. It's me. Jiang Chen, came the ecstatic response. You have caller ID, right? Where are you right now? She was lying face down on her bed, her smooth legs swinging back and forth in the air. A smile crept onto her face as she propped her chin up with her hand. I'm home, why? Do you miss me? It was the first time Jiang Chen had called her. Jiang Chen was silent, not knowing how to answer. In the end, he awkwardly chose to ignore the question. How far away is your home from Wanghai University? Lu Yao pouted with disappointment. Not that far. 2 subway stations away. Ahem, I drank a bit and can't drive. Could you come and pick me up? I'm by the lake in Wanghai University, Jiang Chen said shamelessly. The pristine moon cast its light from the night sky and reflected off the glowing lake's surface. A light breeze drifted by the lakeside, rattling the leaves to the sound of the wind. The September air already carried a slight bite. He embraced the chill on his arms as he leaned against the marble fence, staring blankly at the hut sitting in the middle of the lake. When was the last time he had visited this place? Behind him was the English corner and a bench in a grassy field, an ideal place to practice recitations. But it was also the perfect date spot, referred to by students as the Lover's Hill. What are you looking at? Zoning out. Jiang Chen turned around smiling but stalled, stunned by the glimpse of a beauty. A white dress paired with high-heeled sandals, the pure white color. As soon as he managed to regather his thoughts, he said sounding troubled, if people didn't know better, they'd think you a first-year student. The slight curvature of her lips showed a girl's pride while the gorgeous face under the lamppost carried a hint of innocence. Did I drink too much? Jiang Chen rubbed at his temple. Of course. I even met a senior when I was walking over, and he volunteered to walk me home. Lu Yao examined Jiang Chen's face with a smile. Oh. Dissatisfied with Jiang Chen's calm reaction, she asked, are you not jealous? Jiang Chen smiled, his eyes locked onto the gaze as limpid as the lake's surface. The words of, why would I be jealous, were stuck in his throat. Perhaps, a little. He turned away from the attractive face to look at the grass field dotted with bright lights. Lu Yao's smile grew larger, her mouth shaping into a crescent. Then I told him, I already have a boyfriend, and he walked away blushing. Jiang Chen shrugged, chuckling. Why are you so direct? They didn't even say that they were going to chase after you. The way he looked at me said it all. But I can't accept anyone other than you. He fell into silence, which was soon broken. Do you want to be my boyfriend? While we're on the topic, did you purposely dress like this? Jiang Chen diverted the topic with a troubled smile. The pristine white dress, the gorgeous face without makeup, and the eyes as bright as the stars in the summer night. Lu Yao also didn't answer the question as she straightened her back and strolled around the rock path. She turned to look at him with a gentle smile, her dress blooming with her motions. Am I similar to that girl who watched the movie with you? He fell silent, then started laughing hysterically. Perhaps it was due to the alcohol's influence. She is not a good person, so why are you copying her? Jiang Chen also straightened up from leaning against the fence, his laughter dying away. Am I like the girl in your imagination? Jiang Chen stopped again, and after a while, spoke with confusion. Is there a difference? Just as he finished speaking, he already had an answer in his heart. The girl in his imagination was pure, innocent, and adorable. In the end, he realized that everything had been a facade, but he still held feelings for Fang Yuan. Lu Yao smiled, looking at Jiang Chen. Although she didn't know the girl he met in the past, she could guess. So with her cunning, she changed into a dress she had worn back in her university days. Like a traveler in the desert, heading to the imaginary kingdom, strolling alone, he murmured as he gazed at the loving couple on the faraway grass field. PSHHH, you can write poems? No. Just the complaints of a bored person at a boring time. For some reason, he missed Sun Jiao, that evil and naughty girl. Perhaps, this was why he liked her? The courage to love and hate, the straightforward way of expressing her emotions, and the naughtiness to act on the wrong ideas. She was becoming more civil, but Jiang Chen had the urge to tell her that this was okay too, because such a girl was nearly extinct in this world. Here, what remained genuine? Suddenly, a softness gently blocked his mouth, his eyes staring at a closed pair of eyes. Lips parted. Silence ensued before Jiang Chen eventually asked, "Can I ask you a question?" Uh-huh. Apart from material needs, why do you like me? If it was just about money, there were plenty of rich people. A delighted smile blossomed on her face. Maybe because of respect. The smile was beautiful, but also helpless. I see. Perhaps she sought after respect because she was not respected? He paused, and after thinking a while, asked, "Do you know why I accepted your invitation for a vacation? Because of regret?" Jiang Chen looked down. He didn't say no, or yes. Take me home. Lu Yao looked slightly disappointed, but she smiled and nodded. Uh-huh. He leaned back against the soft passenger seat and let out a long sigh. He then pulled at the collar that made him feel stuffy. Mingxin Area Mansion Community, the innermost plot. Do you know the way? There's always GPS. Lu Yao forced a smile as she really hadn't been to that area before. Jiang Chen watched silently as she started the GPS and set the destination before he settled in to rest. The car ride was smooth with Lu Yao increasing the speed once they left campus grounds. He opened his eyes, catching the colors of the city in his peripheral vision. Suddenly, he casually asked, "How have you been doing?" "Not well." Lu Yao steered as she pouted. "Oh? Why?" "Because the movie someone promised has still yet to happen." Her voice sounded forlorn. "Hee, how much money?" Intoxicated, he smiled carelessly. Screech. The car suddenly stopped. Lu Yao parked the car on the side of the road, took off her seatbelt, and looked him straight in the eye. In her eyes, were tears? "What's wrong?" he asked with a bitter smile. "In your eyes, I'm just a SL*T, right?" Jiang Chen blanked. He didn't expect one sentence would cause her to react this dramatically. "Do you remember the lover lock at the edge of the sea?" His throat slightly moved as he looked away, not knowing what to say. Of course he remembered. He engraved the name Chen Lele, the pure and happy girl that existed only in a movie. "I can't become your Chen Lele?" "But you're not." "I am." His lips were stopped by a soothing sensation. The seat belt was unbuckled as he reached out to hug the lithe figure. He was no longer drunk from the alcohol, but he was somehow more intoxicated. It was already 10 o'clock at night, and the streets were empty with an occasional car that screeched by. Maybach's had excellent noise cancellation, insulating the noises from passing through to the outside. The tinted windows also obstructed the view into the car, making it impossible for the occasional passerby to see into the car. He tightly hugged Lu Yao, smelling the fragrance of her hair and listening to her suppressed moans as he allowed the alcohol-induced sweat to roll down. Perhaps intoxication was contagious? Or perhaps it was only the idea of being intoxicated. No need to think. Even as autumn was about to take summer's place, spring blossomed inside the car. Chapter 76, Negotiation with 361. The car slowly drove into the mansion grounds. Aisha stood quietly by the door and watched Jiang Chen's car come to a stop. The door opened, accompanied by a flash of the car lights before a woman stepped out. She was beautiful, her aesthetics matching her husband's. Was it Sun Jiao or Yao Yao? Her instincts told her that the answer was neither. There was not the slightest dissatisfaction in Aisha's mind. In her country, polygamy was not uncommon. The number of women with Jiang Chen had nothing to do with how she served him. "Are you still waiting for me?" "You really don't have to wait at the door." Jiang Chen also got out of the car with a distressed look. He felt it was unfair to the girl who had been lingering here. On the drive back, Lu Yao explained her situation to him. Her ex-boyfriend, who had been her agent at the time, forced her to find options in Sanya, and that was how she had met Jiang Chen. Perhaps because of her honesty, Jiang Chen no longer minded the incident as much as he had before. Through this, he learned that she did not lack self-respect, rather, she had only met the wrong guy. After that, they came to a tacit understanding. So could she now be considered a mistress? That word had a strange attraction that made Jiang Chen's heart pump. Aisha drove the car into the garage while Jiang Chen took Lu Yao into the mansion. Just find a bedroom to sleep in. I want to sleep where you sleep, Lu Yao cutely pleaded as she cheerfully held on to his arm. Ahem, I have things to do tomorrow. Sleep well. If they ended up sleeping together, he would never be able to get up in the morning. A thought occurred to him, and he asked, "Oh, do you still contact your ex-boyfriend, agent?" No, I already deleted that waste of air's number, she said carefully with her eyes on his. She was afraid he would have other thoughts. Oh. He felt as if a large burden had been lifted from his chest. But if she did have a conflict with her agent, her income would be a problem. Before the year ends, once I finish everything on hand, I'll take care of your problems. A living expense of 100,000 should be more than enough. The cost of breaching the contract was most likely around 1 million. To Lu Yao, it was an astronomical number, but to him, it was pocket change. As for the movie, production costs would be anywhere in the 10 million. With Lu Yao's acting skills and looks, as long as there was enough money invested, popularity wasn't an issue. In this case, making a return would not be difficult at all. Lu Yao cheerfully shook Jiang Chen's arm. Also, I am a very possessive person. What are you thinking? I'm already yours. Lu Yao mock angrily pinched him on the waist. Jiang Chen saw the raised corners of her lips and laughed aloud. Her now, he didn't mind. The next morning, Jiang Chen drove Lu Yao back to her home despite her wishes to stay in the mansion. He still had many secrets, and it would be inconvenient if Lu Yao were to see something. Thankfully, Lu Yao didn't insist on it since she knew her boundaries. Afterward, Jiang Chen drove to Future Technology. There was an important meeting waiting for him. Hello, Mr. Jiang. Hello, Mr. Zhang. Jiang Chen shook Zhang Jianfeng's hand before inviting him to take a seat. A clean haircut, a well-tailored suit, he had the sharpness of a company executive. An austere assistant who was responsible for the meeting minutes stood behind him. Jiang Chen had already read into his background. He was the 361 phone helper project manager who was responsible for negotiating the use of Future 1.0 on the 361 software platform. This man was most likely the best person for this conversation since 361 held Jiang Chen in high esteem. Of course, this was only to the current Future Technology. Mr. Jiang, I'm sure you know that I'm the project manager for the 361 phone helper. Our team members have come to a consensus that if Future 1.0 were to be released on our platform, it would possess many high-quality, creative traits and increased functionality compared to the majority of the apps available today. Zhang Jianfeng's tone then took a turn in the opposite direction. However, despite the excellent design of the artificial intelligence, I don't know if Mr. Jiang has already considered the security of the software. What if hackers infiltrated Little White's programming and accessed personal user information such as bank passwords? Have you considered the consequences of this? Jiang Chen calmly waited for Zhang Jianfeng to finish before he responded with a collected smile. As to security, our company has already released a statement. For any financial losses related to Little White's security, our response is to fully compensate the users. Fortunately, the current amount is 0. Impressed by Jiang Chen's performance, Xia Xiyu, who sat beside Jiang Chen, nodded. She'd been worried about Jiang Chen's professionalism at the negotiation table, but now she realized she had clearly worried too much. In critical moments, this guy is surprisingly reliable. You're right. At this time, Future 1.0 has yet to be a target for hackers. But it's impossible for Mr. Jiang to be completely confident in your program, correct? I understand that in information security, your company's talent is still 0, Zhang Jianfeng also responded with a smile. Oh? Looks like you've done your research. But I would also imagine that you would have taken a close look at our software as well. Did your experts have anything to say? He hinted at other meanings of his words, but Jiang Chen maintained his smile, even making it more cheerful than Zhang Jianfeng's. Zhang Jianfeng's pupils slightly contracted, and he responded with an awkward smile. Taking a look and copying was not uncommon in this industry, but it was never mentioned outright. You say I'm copying? I think you're mistaken. You're called Counter-Strike, I'm Crossfire. The names are different, how could this be considered copying? However, it certainly did feel awkward to have their failed attempts to crack the software pointed out directly by Jiang Chen. Ahem, I hope there's no confusion or misunderstanding about this. My company did try and gain an understanding of Future 1.0, but it was all within the legal boundaries. We have an obligation to ensure security for our 361 phone helper users. If the users downloaded a software with a backdoor in the programming, it would damage our own reputation. Shameless, how shameless. Jiang Chen wanted to jump up, whip out his phone and shove it into this man's face, asking how this list of garbage software in their 361 software market was evidence of their consideration for the users. Zhang Jianfeng had the audacity to say that they worried about user security when Little White software was safer than their own antivirus program. Therefore, out of concern for their user security, they were going to crack Little White. At the same time, Zhang Jianfeng was mentally cursing Gu Chen for his uselessness. He had a full staff of masters of computers and even created a separate project for this. After working day in and day out and being pounded with work, when asked if he had made any progress, he got annoyed and told Daddy that he didn't know? How the foo *ck do I negotiate when I don't even know the chips on our table? Even as he raged inside his mind, he couldn't show any of it at the negotiation. He slowly took a sip of tea. Seeing Jiang Chen remain silent, he began to test the waters. Of course, while screening the security of Future 1.0, we did make some progress. At this early stage, we can conclude that the software is safe. Although he phrased it as a screening, everyone knew the truth, it was cracking. Zhang Jianfeng carefully observed Jiang Chen's reaction to his blatant lie, hoping to see a flash of uncertainty on his face. Something was fishy. Xia Shiyu immediately realized the lie in Zhang Jianfeng's words and turned to look at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen sneered and responded, "Oh? Since your company already made some progress, then why are you guys here?" Even without Xia Shiyu's hints, Jiang Chen had already realized the fundamental problem. If you cracked the software, then why are you coming to me? You can just create an advanced Future 1.0. Do you need to ask my permission to copy it? What you say is true, but we still hope your company will proactively provide the necessary information so that we can conduct a full safety analysis. Of course, we are also interested in some of the creative elements of your software. If Mr. Jiang doesn't mind, we can discuss the price so that we can have a joint victory on both sides. Please enlighten me on how we would win together with this logic. Jiang Chen interrupted Zhang Jianfeng without the slightest consideration. It was considered rude behavior, but since Zhang Jianfeng had the audacity to say his spiel, Jiang Chen was thoroughly fed up with it. Shocked, Zhang Jianfeng stared at Jiang Chen. He hadn't expected Jiang Chen to effectively end the negotiations. Are you not interested in the price? Zhang Jianfeng was a skilled negotiator, able to hide his anger. Instead, he smiled genially at Jiang Chen. Well, we can talk about it. 1 billion. Zhang Jianfeng calmly gave the conservative figure. As someone with a tech background, do you really believe that it's worth only 1 billion? Jiang Chen sipped his tea as he leaned back against the chair. Mr. Jiang, although the technology is a part of it, you and I are both in the business field. Don't you think that we should talk about the business value? From my understanding, you don't even have a channel of revenue from this free software. I would have to say that your financial statement for this month shouldn't look too great. Zhang Jianfeng couldn't hold in his laughter. We have sufficient funds, you don't have to worry about that. As for revenue generation? If you're looking forward to it so much, it may come to exist tomorrow. A smile full of hidden meanings appeared on Jiang Chen's face. Zhang Jianfeng took a moment to think. Based on what he knew, Jiang Chen's company only had $500,000 of invested capital. Could a venture capital have already invested in them? Zhang Jianfeng couldn't be blamed for his lack of information. The registered capital was indeed $500,000, but the following equity infusion was not released to the public. As a privately held company, the information would not be disclosed, and therefore, they had no obligation to give information on their assets. Since Mr. Jiang is so confident, I don't think there is much more we can talk about. Zhang Jianfeng sighed as he stood up. The negotiation fell through, though it was a result he had expected. What you say is correct. If your company genuinely wishes to form a partnership with us, please provide us with a reasonable proposal, and we will reciprocate with the same respect. Xia Shiyu, who hadn't spoken until now, nudged her glasses up as she slid a document forward. This outlines the potential area we would consider forming a partnership with. If Mr. Zhang is interested, you should take it with you. Zhang Jianfeng was caught off guard, but he soon regathered his thoughts. Is this how a small startup treats large corporations? Future technology is this confident? He picked up the piece of paper. Virus database sharing? Phone security partnership? Hee, arrogant. The next second, however, he felt something he had never felt before. It was a hint of fear. What if they did have the ability? Artificial intelligence plus an antivirus? There were countless possibilities. What else could artificial intelligence do? Since the negotiation has fallen through, could I ask for your evaluation of Future 1.0? This way, I can go back and give my boss an answer, Zhang Jianfeng casually asked as he placed the document into his briefcase. From a programmer's perspective, what do you think a finished artificial intelligence would be worth? Instead of answering, Jiang Chen half-jokingly threw the question back at him. Zhang Jianfeng considered it for a moment before he smiled and said, 1 trillion? Ha ha ha, around that range. Except, even for 1 trillion, I wouldn't sell it. Jiang Chen laughed as he walked beside Zhang Jianfeng. Do you want to work for me? I'll cover the cost of breaching your contract. Zhang Jianfeng laughed jovially. That's an interesting way of acquiring talent. I haven't even asked if you're interested in coming to 361, and you already asked me to come work for you. Zhang Jianfeng's mouth twitched on his way to the door. For a brief second, he had been tempted. Before he achieved his current position, he began as a programmer. Witnessing the impeccable technology behind the software, how could he not be tempted? Except temptation didn't necessarily translate into actions. Upon returning to 361's headquarters, Zhang Jianfeng reported the day's events in its entirety to the president, Zhou Hongwei. 1 trillion? Haha, I wouldn't sell it for 1 trillion. Looks like the president holds high regards for future technology, he lightly asked Zhou Hongwei upon seeing that he did not criticize him for his inability to close the deal. High is an understatement. Zhou Hongwei shook his head as he laughed. If any one of you could develop artificial intelligence, what if I gave him 10% equity? 10% equity. Zhang Jianfeng uncontrollably gulped. 361 was listed in the UA. With an average share price of $60, the current market cap already reached an astounding 10 billion USD. 10% was equal to 1 billion USD. The assistant also gulped with wide eyes. Looks like it's impossible to acquire them. Zhou Hongwei shook his head sighing. How about we do something with our platform instead, the assistant suggested. Zhou Hongwei glanced at her before chuckling. If Future 1.0 can't be downloaded from 361, won't users just download it from the Android market? And if the Android market doesn't work, why wouldn't they just make an official site? The assistant was speechless. Why don't we wait first and see Microsoft's opinion? Frowning, Zhang Jianfeng put forth his own suggestion. Zhou Hongwei considered it for a moment, then nodded. That's what I had planned to do. It's a much more conservative approach. It was no secret that Microsoft and 361 had an alliance. When 361 fought for market shares with Tencent, it was all under the orders of Microsoft from across the Pacific Ocean. If they didn't have such a strong backer, there was no way Zhou Hongwei would have had the guts to fight the #1 giant in the Han tech industry. Compared to Tencent, who possessed half of the tech field, 361 was too weak. On that day, the number of MSN installations increased to 7 million, revealing the true instigator behind the scenes. Zhou Hongwei could choose to blacklist Future 1.0 using 361's antivirus and suppress its ability to thrive. Currently, 361 did possess high market shares on the mobile platform. Even if they were faced with a lawsuit, the settling amount would be negligible. 300,000? That was nothing. His real concern was whether this move would push future technology to other tech giants such as Tencent or Baidu. Then it would become even more difficult for 361 to survive. All tech giants shared the same concern. Everyone understood the value of artificial intelligence, however, if they were too forceful in pushing it away, it would only hurt them in the end. The best way was to balance power through a partnership. At least for now, Future 1.0 had yet to touch anyone else's cake yet. It was because of this that Jiang Chen restrained himself from releasing all of Little White's functions. If Little White suddenly possessed all of the functions of QQ, Baidu, and 361 together, it would face the backlash of the entire internet industry as he would have just touched everyone's cake. Translator note: Hello everyone, this is Min. I apologize for the unstable update for the past while. We were transitioning into a new system and finally completed the process. I'll be releasing 7 chapters in the next 24 hours as my apology. Please comment and let me know how I can improve the book. Chapter 77, Press Conference. Suit does not feel comfortable at all. Jiang Chen remembered wearing it only once during his graduation debate and a couple times in interviews. But looking at Xia Shiyu in her black office attire, she certainly possessed the professional and sharp vibe. Her silky, black hair was tied up and her black-framed glasses were perched pertly on her nose. On her face, she put on light, natural makeup. To be honest, he previously thought that she looked bad with a ponytail, but now she seemed more mature and professional. Are you ready? Xia Shiyu was anxious upon seeing his casual demeanor. Jiang Chen shrugged and smiled. Don't worry. That certainly did not make her any less worried. Although Xia Shiyu wanted to make fun of him, she did feel calmer with a composed Jiang Chen as opposed to a nervous one. She let out a breath and nodded. You can do it. Of course. He confidently smiled. What's so scary about being in front of cameras? I was in front of God knows how many guns. Not exactly something to be proud of. On the first floor of Future Technology was a public conference hall bustling with people. The conference room had an elevated half-circle in which the invited press had all taken their seats. As usual, the cameras were placed in the back, and because seatings were numbered, the hall was not too chaotic. The media frenzy surrounding Future 1.0 exceeded Jiang Chen's expectations. The 100-square-meter conference room still felt crowded. The curtain slid open, commencing the start of the flashing lights. With a bright smile, Jiang Chen waved his hand, his heart pounding as he noticed the CTV, CNN, and BBC symbols. Damn, it does feel different now that cameras are pointing at me. I'm even feeling nervous now. After collecting his thoughts, he read the opening address amidst the media's heightened expectations. First, I would like to thank the media present for taking time out of their busy schedules to attend Future Technology's press conference. I believe everyone seated here has already had the chance to learn about Future 1.0. To save time, I won't go over each of the functions. The purpose of this press conference is to address and answer any rumors or misunderstandings about Future 1.0. Therefore, the most efficient method is for me to give the time to the media. Please, following the sequence of seat numbers, ask your questions, and limit them to one per person to ensure that every outlet has an opportunity. Xia Shiyu, who was standing backstage, almost fell down as she was dumbfounded by Jiang Chen's decision. Who would pass the questioning to the media right away without saying anything first? Without giving a simple, comprehensive explanation, if they come to ask an extremely tricky question, would you be able to handle it? The media was also shocked that Jiang Chen skipped right into the media's questions without playing his role first. It certainly caught them off guard. They'd seen press conferences without a question and answer session before, but never one without a speech. Also, questions were based on seat number, which made them feel uncomfortable as they were used to having to fight to ask questions. But Jiang Chen didn't concern himself with the rules, instead choosing the most efficient method. If he had to pick people, he ran the risk of offending certain individuals, so the best way was to create boundaries and make people ask one by one. The reporters who usually had to have their hands up for an entire conference without getting picked were certainly appreciative of Jiang Chen's decision. It didn't matter that they were seated in the back so long as they had the opportunity to ask questions. Jiang Chen kept his composure. He had his own considerations in making this decision. Ultimately, you guys will be asking about security and privacy anyways. Even if I clarify first, you'll only pick holes in my word choice. If I let you ask beforehand, I only need to answer. After weighing himself internally, Jiang Chen knew that he would not be able to outwit these veterans. Regardless of Xia Shiyu's competency, her script would be picked apart by these reporters who were hungry for headlines. Although they were surprised by Jiang Chen's decision, the reporters had already done their research beforehand and came prepared with a list of questions. The reporter in the first seat stood up and read out what was written on his notepad. I am CTV's reporter. There has been controversy surrounding the topic of artificial intelligence security, especially little whites. Mr. Jiang Chen, could he really be a ticking time bomb in the user's phone concerning private information like people said he would be? The young man clearly articulated. That's a great question. First, I'll have to refer back to the guarantee our company has made recently. If the user suffers any financial loss as a result of a program error in Little White, we'll fully compensate the user. Jiang Chen shrugged his shoulders as he continued. Also, from the developer's perspective, I take responsibility and say that as long as it is a program, it will follow the setting written in the software. So you don't have to worry about Little White releasing private user information because I won't permit it. The sounds of discussions and note-taking filled the room as the second person, a middle-aged man, stood up and asked his question. I'm a reporter from Renren News. Mr. Jiang Chen, currently, there are no laws or regulations in place regarding artificial intelligence. What is your opinion on the possible proposal of the Artificial Intelligence Management Act, and what would be Future Technology's response to this? Renren News? Referring to Han State News Agency. This is going to be a bit problematic. Jiang Chen's head spun rapidly. As an official media source, it represents the voice of the government. There is definitely a deeper meaning behind this question. Are they testing me? Or giving me a hint? Of course, Future Technology will firmly abide by the regulations in place without question. This includes the introduced Artificial Intelligence Management Act. Future Technology will cooperate with authorities to adjust our services to fit within the frame established. Jiang Chen cautiously answered the question by expressing his support and willingness to cooperate. He did not, however, express his views regarding the regulation itself. He had a feeling that the question came from a lawmaking authority since artificial intelligence regulation was a blank slate in all countries of the world. Judging from the current stage, the development of artificial intelligence was still in its infancy, and nothing had yet to reach even the basic levels. Upon hearing Jiang Chen's response, the middle-aged man sat down deep in thought. Immediately following after, a blonde beauty stood up. "I am BBC's reporter. Mr. Jiang Chen, it is known that artificial intelligence requires strong hardware equipment to support functionality. IBM Watson, for example, requires 90 IBM servers and 360 computer processors to maintain its operation. Yet somehow, the future 1.0 developed by your company could operate on a mobile platform. How did you manage to achieve this?" BBC's question came from a technological perspective, and based on the crowd's reaction, many other reporters were also interested in the answer. "Sorry, this is a trade secret. What I can disclose, however, is that it is based on a database. The core of the artificial intelligence that we developed is not the hardware, but rather the software. It doesn't have a high requirement for computational power, and the database is the critical element instead. It accepts external information and exports database information. As long as the database is maintained, Future 1.0 can operate on a mobile platform. Clearly, we have achieved this." Jiang Chen confidently used the **T Du Yongkong gave him as he wasn't worried that any of the experts would be able to uncover anything. As far as the people in this world knew, there was only one person on his team that managed to develop this innovative technology, which was comparable to Bill Gates' Windows 1.0. Database? All of the reporters' eyes lit up. "I am a reporter from Japanese Economy. Mr. Jiang Chen, because the current stage of artificial intelligence development is still difficult for the world's scientific community, would Mr. Jiang Chen please have a heart like Andy, the developer of Android, and release the magical artificial intelligence database to the world?" a short, suited man asked slowly after bowing politely. Mockery crept onto Jiang Chen's face before he managed to hide it. "I can't believe you had the audacity to say that. For the scientific community? Heart. Then why don't you disclose all of your country's technology?" But it was within his expectations that this sort of brainless question would come from a right-wing Japanese media source. "I say it is meaningful because it would push the growth of the human civilization. To demonstrate your willingness, perhaps you should convince your country to surrender all armed forces? It would be a historic step for world peace. I look forward to your response." Laughter erupted in the hall as some Han reporters mocked the shamelessness of this Japanese reporter. The short man gave Jiang Chen a dirty look before awkwardly seating himself. Jiang Chen shrugged and signaled for the next reporter's question. He didn't have the time to deal with rude people. "I'm CNN's reporter, and I'd like to ask Mr. Jiang Chen whether user privacy for Future 1.0 is really so secure as your company has stated it to be. Based on the software encryption, your company made the software into an impenetrable black box. No one could test it from a security point of view. So what if Little White passes information gathered from the user to your desktop? Of course, this is only an example. Could you prove that it won't happen?" It was a harsh question, but many others were concerned about the same issue. For a dead software, even if it was filled with backdoors, you would not question its security until the problems were exposed. But for software that felt alive, despite the developer's efforts to prove its safety, you would be skeptical as it behaved too similarly to humans. "I'm not the FBA, why would I need a user's private information?" Jiang Chen laughed and splayed his palms. "Let me give you an example then. Based on the Washington Post's report, the CIB and FBA directly infiltrated the central servers of Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and a total of 9 tech giants to track users' email, phone calls, documents, and videos. What's your opinion on this? May I ask if this is related to today's question?" The reporter from CNN showed an awkward expression. "Of course. I want to explain that invasion of user privacy has nothing to do with the software itself. Because despite being an artificial intelligence, it has no concept of personal interest. Even if you uninstalled him after spending several days together, he will only wave his hands to say goodbye. Attempting to invade another's privacy could only come from another human. But I assure you here and now that I will never do that. As long as I remain president of Future Technology, the company will never allow such actions." Jiang Chen looked the reporter in the eye as he said this. The hall filled with the sound of applause. He signaled for quiet as he passed the time to the next reporter. Jiang Chen answered the following questions with ease. He answered what he could, and if not, then he made something up. If that didn't work, he blamed it on trade secrets. Jiang Chen had always been proud of his acting skills. At the end, the reporters asked, when will the foreign version be available? Would future technology consider venture capital? Or even an irrelevant question such as, do you have a girlfriend? Some interesting queries included, what's the meaning behind future technology's name? Jiang Chen answered half-jokingly, because my team and I envision the future. And another sensitive question was, would artificial intelligence be used in the military field? Jiang Chen's response was clear-cut. Chat-based artificial intelligence will only exist for the purpose of interaction. It will not calculate rocket trajectory for you because that would require high-performance computers and experts. Unless you're worried about soldiers who are too lonely and want to find a companion. He managed to win the majority of the media's positive impressions thanks to his clear and straightforward responses. Certainly, media outlets with criticisms still existed. For example, the short man from Japanese Economy seemed to be thinking up malevolent ideas to use to attack Jiang Chen. But who cared? At the very least, Jiang Chen didn't. Who would care about a media that only distorted the truth? After the closing remarks, Future Technology's first media conference ended on a high note amidst applause. I can't believe you're so deft at improvising in your reactions. Xiaoxiu nodded, seeming impressed as she looked at Jiang Chen. Haha. Jiang Chen narcissistically raised his head and laughed. He then arrogantly raised his eyebrows. You realize this only now? I'm this Fu * King Awesome. Could you be more civil, please? You are a public figure now, Xiaoxiu said, slightly displeased. Public figure? He realized the problem with a troubled expression on his face once more. Fu * K, then I have to be careful with everything I do? How can I enjoy my life from now on? Could a camera point at me the moment I leave my house? Jiang Chen scratched his head as he asked. Xiaoxiu speechlessly stared at Jiang Chen before she sighed. Being a public figure means that your words and actions represent the company. If you do any uncivil acts, this would directly influence the public's impression of our company. If it gets uploaded onto the internet, it could potentially escalate. Why are you looking at me like that? I just think that you care more about future technology than even I do. I'm pleased. Jiang Chen grinned. Xiaoxiu lost her words once more. The only thing that didn't change was her emotionless expression. Jiang Chen was eager to change out of his uncomfortable suit. Oh right. Just as he was about to leave the backstage area, Xiaoxiu abruptly stopped him. Jiang Chen turned around looking confused. In consideration of the company's publicity, of course, it is not right to interfere in your private life, but do you really not have a girlfriend? Xiaoxiu didn't look in Jiang Chen's direction. Instead, she stared blankly at the ground as her finger twirled the tips of her hair. Her voice remained calm as usual. Jiang Chen was shocked, and his face took a particularly odd tone. What if I do? He probed to see her reaction. Exclamation point. You are about to rip your hair out. But in reality, no. Jiang Chen immediately added. Her mouth curved up? At this moment, even as dumb as he was, he realized. Ahem, in this case, it'll be okay. But you should still be careful about your private life. If news got out that you're still single, some people with ill intentions may, anyways, just be careful. Jiang Chen locked his eyes onto Xiaoxiu, who was being unusually chattiness, with the same peculiar expression. Do you like me? Chapter 78, Test? Do you like me? Jiang Chen recalled the conversation backstage as he scratched his nose with a troubled smile. Why am I so charming, he said to himself with a cocky flair before becoming overwhelmed by embarrassment again. He turned the car radio on in an attempt to drown his awkwardness in the noise. Xiaoxiu was the type to be shy, easily embarrassed by anything. Even with her emotionless face, she was cold only on the outside, warm on the inside. The atmosphere had been intimate. Her mouth half open, she had been completely at a loss with the situation. Just at that moment, however, an untimely phone call with an explosive ringtone broke the delicate closeness. Jiang Chen, realizing it was his phone, was about to hang up when Xiaoxiu quickly gathered her wits and then fled the room with her head buried. Fine. Perhaps that phone call had perfect timing. Or else he wouldn't have had a clue on how to disengage from that awkward situation. He wasn't sure about his attitude towards her either. He used to masturbate to her image long ago for quite some time, but he hadn't had such thoughts for a while now. Perhaps his mentality had changed? Shaking his head, he had tried to push away the strange thoughts in his mind. And then his phone rang once more. He thought for a second, the same troubled smile crossing his face. There was no point in hanging up again. He sighed and connected the call with his Bluetooth headphones. The voice from the other side had made him fall into a deep contemplation again. Wang Jiang? Jiang Chen was now on his way to the home of Wang Dihai, the general secretary of Wanghai City. The elder wished to invite him over for dinner to express his sincere gratitude for saving his life. But the phone call had been too timely, coming not long after ending the press conference. It felt unnatural to Jiang Chen, yet it was the general secretary's invitation. And he had saved his life, so it probably wouldn't be anything too terrible. After a moment's hesitation, he began his drive over. It was a serene community without seeming too luxurious, but the amount of vegetation here was rare to see in the entire Wanghai city. The security at the door seemed to be retired soldiers. He could feel the bloodlust from several meters away. These guys must have come from a border conflict. All of the residents in this community had to be influential in some way. Even with money, not everyone could be the general secretary's neighbor. He parked the car in the building before walking up to knock on the door. The door opened momentarily, revealing a cheerful face before him. "You're here. Come in, my mom wants to thank you personally." Wang Xinran grinned at Jiang Chen. Don't you live on campus?" Jiang Chen was surprised to see her. "It's Saturday. Is President Jiang Chen so busy that he forgot the date?" She playfully poked her tongue out. Now that I don't work, it's hard to keep track." As soon as he entered, he was greeted with warmth. He was surprised by the generosity and welcoming gestures, making him feel slightly ashamed since he had his own motives in saving people. But regardless of the reason, he did fight off death and save Wang Dihai. He mostly taken aback by the fact that Wang Dihai was not like other grim politicians who acted fiercely. Instead, he lacked the daunting vibe, seeming instead like a kind elderly man. Seeing Jiang Chen, he warmly called out Little Jiang. Little is a common way to refer to younger people. Aware of the situation, Jiang Chen responded by calling him Uncle Wang. Wang Dihai's wife was a grandma with kind features who consistently served Jiang Chen food. It certainly gave Jiang Chen, who had been venturing outside, a sense of home. Wang Xiong was an interesting person as well. He kept trying to drink with Jiang Chen, but his weak alcohol tolerance put him under the table first. When he started spouting gibberish, his sister stuck him back in his room as he snored. Jiang Chen always viewed straightforward people in a positive light. As for Wang Xinran, she maintained her usual level of energy as she pestered him with questions about Future 1.0. She also informed him that she became the top member of the distinguished alumni at Wanghai University, the youngest to ever take the spot. Unfortunately, the list only circulated within the school and didn't hold much influence since few students held an interest in the school newspaper anymore. As for her questions, Jiang Chen didn't disclose anything outside of the norm. Everything he said was consistent with his stance at the press conference. As he spoke with Wang Xinran, he kept most of his attention on Wang Dihai for his reaction. What did this powerful politician think about Future 1.0? Support? Or more reserved? After dinner, Wang Dihai called Jiang Chen into his office. "Feel free to sit. Don't be nervous, I just want to chat with you." Wang Dihai saw Jiang Chen was nervous and smiled warmly as he invited him to take a seat. "Haha, Uncle Wang, I'll make myself comfortable then." Jiang Chen settled himself onto the sofa across from him. He didn't dare to pretend to be an ancient remedy doctor anymore. In Hua, all of the intelligent people were politicians, particularly a powerful one like Wang Dihai. The difficulty in convincing him on a story was nearly impossible. Even the finest acting would have its flaws. Say as little as possible. But Jiang Chen had clearly overthought the matter. Wang Dihai didn't pry into the matter of how he cured rabies. Instead, he started talking about his childhood anecdotes. "My rabies was probably from the 60s. I was young, my dad was being punished, and I got bit by the dogs of those crazy politicians. I remember the bite was about this big on my leg. I initially didn't think it would be a problem after so many years, but it still turned out to be worse." Haha. Wang Dihai used his hand to show the size of the scar. Jiang Chen smiled, but didn't respond. He knew it was better to listen since elders enjoyed telling young people their stories. They didn't need comfort or praise, only an audience that was willing to hear them out. Although he didn't know what Wang Dihai was planning, since he treated Jiang Chen as one of the younger generation instead of as a subordinate, Jiang Chen's impression of him was not too bad. He heard many stories from Wang Dihai. Until the end. "Now, we are finally powerful." "Good, good, good." In a nostalgic tone, Wang Dihai repeated "good" 3 times as he looked in Jiang Chen's direction with a look full of hidden meanings. The show had finally started. Jiang Chen's focused as he waited for this powerful politician to speak. "Little Jiang, is it feasible for artificial intelligence to be used in the military?" Wang Dihai casually asked as he sipped his tea. Of course, Jiang Chen responded without hesitation before sternly saying, "It would be a disaster to the country and even the world." "Oh?" Wang Dihai was quite interested by Jiang Chen's response and waited for the context. Artificial intelligence is not human. If the life and death of a human is given to a program to oversee, it would only take a programming error to cause a catastrophic disaster. In the end, the law cannot regulate lines of code. Oh? But if artificial intelligence soldiers could replace human soldiers going into war, could it not eliminate the need for bloodshed? No, there will only be more casualties. A troubled smile appeared on Jiang Chen's face. Wang Dihai's gaze bored into him. Since this elder was asking him, it meant that it was not the worst scenario. From the looks of things, even the top had not managed to reach a consensus yet. Too many parties were involved in this. There was no need to talk about whether it was feasible for artificial intelligence to replace soldiers, how many PLA would be discharged. How many people would want to shut his mouth? Even foreign agents would target him. Cold sweat began to drench Jiang Chen's shirt as he thought about the possible repercussions. Since Uncle Wang mentioned bloodshed, may I ask, does this mean our country is going into war soon? Of course. There are always some fools who want to take action. Wang Dihai raised his eyebrows but explained anyway. Then uncle, if a cheap, effective, and powerful weapon is introduced, how would this change the current situation? Jiang Chen carefully said. An arms race? That's based on whether the technological capabilities are the same. Wang Dihai dismissed the idea with a wave of his hand. So the question is, he said with a troubled smile. But I don't have it. Like how I explained at the press conference, Future 1.0 can answer questions logically and given permission from users, operate fundamental phone functions. To give an analogy, Windows 7 is effective, but you don't expect it to control a PC as well as robots, right? Could you not make any adjustments? For example, include a fire control system. Wang Dihai persisted, reluctant to give up. I don't have any understanding of firearms. I would have to start from scratch to gain any understanding. Also, from a practical standpoint, does the country need a scientist now, or a possible Bill Gates who will lead the industry for the next 10 years? Jiang Chen gazed seriously into Wang Dihai's eyes. Wang Dihai shouldn't have been pushing this hard as the developer team was supposedly overseas. As he spoke, Jiang Chen was also planning in his mind, going so far as to think that if the authority were to take action, then he would drop everything and run overseas. There was still 400 million USD in his Swiss bank account. He could start over from scratch again anywhere. Wang Dihai also stared at Jiang Chen. But soon, his fierce gaze disappeared, and he took a sip of his tea with a smile on his face. You and I have the same understanding. Don't be so anxious. Jiang Chen let out a breath of relief. To be honest, he was reluctant to leave unless he was forced to. I won't lie to you, we have always been researching artificial intelligence. The other countries are doing the same. It's not a major project, but we have quite a large budget for it. It's just that we haven't had any results yet. Wang Dihai looked meaningfully at Jiang Chen. Some people even said that you should voluntarily give out this technology. Do you know what I said? Jiang Chen thought for a moment before he smiled. Uncle Wang must have thought further than them. Wang Dihai laughed. You're quite clever. I told them, you guys are all old and stubborn. If we did that, who would dare to reveal new technology here? You're pushing all of the talent away. Before he finished his sentence, Jiang Chen knew. Even if they controlled the person in headquarters, with the development team based overseas, if they were pushed away to unfriendly nations, wasn't that providing them with a more advanced technology? What could they do? If they didn't have exclusive possession of the technology, what was the point of it? Thank you, Jiang Chen said with a peculiar expression. There was nothing else for him to say. He didn't understand Wang Dihai's intention. Friendliness? Who was he representing? Or was he returning the favor? You don't need to thank me. I'm not the only one supporting you. The old guy from the Zhou family was more anxious than me. He sipped the tea again and looked at Jiang Chen. His family is responsible for military artificial intelligence project with a budget of 500 million a year. Jiang Chen immediately understood. Just as he suspected, even the top level had not reached a consensus. Or perhaps a better way to put it was that collectively, they were unified, but when it touched their own cake, the situation became much more complex. Or else, the authority would not have waited for him to finish the press conference. The moment Future 1.0 was released, trouble would have ensued. Once it came into the world's spotlight, it would be too costly to work from the shadows again. It was related to the country's attitude, they were already having difficulty retaining talent. If they proceeded with the plan, they would be chasing away the talents. The key now was not to be stronger, but to become more stable. I'll ask only one more question. What's the value of Future 1.0 in the military industry? And be truthful. Wang Dihai locked onto Jiang Chen's eyes. In his aged gaze, there was less kindness and more ferocity. It's not the right time to go into the military. There are too many personal interests attached to it. Thoughts flashed through his mind as he firmly answered the powerful authority figure, 0. Wang Dihai nodded, a smile appearing on his face. Then, as the General Secretary of Wanghai City, I hope you are able to contribute substantially to the city's economic development. I also wish to see future technology significantly benefit the lives of the people and do even greater things. With a genuine smile, he answered, of course. Is he hinting at me to not overreach the limits of civil usage? Looks like Wang Dihai was not trying to convince me, but rather test me. The Wang and Zhou families probably wear the same pants. Thinking about this point, he was not afraid, but he still felt a chill run down his spine. He originally had the ambition to take future technology to the military field, but now it seemed as though he had been overzealous. Did Wang Dihai help me? Of course, since the Zhou family did not go after him right away. But would he have repaid Jiang Chen's favor if the interests of the Wang and Zhou families had been on the line? Probably not, since then it was no longer a personal issue. If Jiang Chen showed the slightest interest in military, or if Future 1.0 had the possibility of encroaching into the field, Wang Dihai would not do anything, but the Zhou family would not let him walk free either. At that time, they would threaten him into giving up the technology before getting rid of him. Or, they would get rid of him right away without even asking for the technology. It would of course result in Jiang Chen's escape, but he would have a hard time returning home again. Would it be beneficial for the country? If they truly cared, then they would not have been so greedy. All of the smart people were in politics. Throughout history, the motivated and the honest died on the battlefield, the knowledgeable avoided politics, and the intelligence belonged in the forbidden city. It was better for the simple to stay away from the intelligent. Jiang Chen didn't reveal any of his thoughts. As soon as he left, he inhaled deeply. He suddenly realized that the past few days had been more tiring than living in the apocalypse. Why do I tire myself out? Am I missing the purpose here? Jiang Chen mocked himself as he shook his head. Regardless of whether he thought too much or not, he didn't consider Wang Dihai to be reliable. Favors were like bills. Once used, it was gone. But it was almost more complex than that since items had a set price, at least you knew how much remained. The only good news was that Future 1.0 would not receive too much hindrance from regulations. This danger faded in its infancy. Chapter 79, Game Online. Artificial intelligence will be the prevailing trend in the progression of modern society. For the growing tech industry, authorities expressed their high regards. On the other hand, for the artificial intelligence program available on the market, authorities are in the process of completing the necessary regulations to protect the interest of the people and corporations. Renren News Report. The Government Media Authority did not report extensively on the details of Future 1.0 as they focused on the bigger picture in regards to the current state of artificial intelligence. They reported mainly on the regulatory environment. However, CTV did praise highly about the outstanding performance of Future 1.0. The local media was all over the place with their reporting, so Jiang Chen didn't place too much emphasis on it. Besides, he cared more about the government media's stance because it often hinted on the perspective the authorities would take. But now, after the conversation with Wang Dihai, there was no need to pay attention to it. Jiang Chen, lying on the bed, turned off the domestic news and commanded Little White to pull up the current foreign news. Dictator, the next Steve Jobs in the tech industry, BBC. That was what I had planned. Artificial intelligence and privacy, truth or lie, CNN. The truth was presented to you, it's up to you to believe it or not. Less than 2014 most attractive men, mode. Did something weird just appear? Jiang Chen judged each headline as he continued to scroll through each one before throwing his phone to the side. Just as he was about to go back to the apocalypse, his phone suddenly vibrated. He picked up his phone. It was Robert who had sent him an email. Buddy, you really transitioned? Jiang Chen smiled as he could imagine his shocked look. That guy's jaw probably dropped to the ground when he saw the guy he knew on the news. Of course, please call me the president of future technology now. You? Are you still doing the same thing? No. The FBA invited me twice to chat already. After finishing the Batten guy, I stopped. Please call me producer now, tongue sticking out. The Batten guy was probably the insider who sold him out. But Jiang Chen didn't bother with Robert's business as he would just ask Robert to take him around when he does go to Los Santos. For now, he had no reason to leave the country. Of course, who could predict the future? Just as Jiang Chen was about to put his phone down again, the phone rang. Xiaoxiu? Hello? Do you miss me? Lazily, Jiang Chen picked up the phone. Are you not coming to work today? She cunningly reacted to her superior's harassment. Jiang Chen nodded, pleased with the reaction, and continued. I have already given you the permission on the specific tasks, can you not let me be a relaxed billionaire? If you have time today, drop by. I had a feeling that you were about to leave for a long time. I still have some things that I need you to decide on. Jiang Chen was shocked. This girl is psychic, how did she know I was about to leave? Jiang Chen sat up from the comfort of his bed. Wait, I'll be there soon. Different from the usual emptiness, Future Technologies headquarters already began to feel busy. Because of the need for people, training was halted and people learned on the job. The employees apparently recognized the president as they cheerfully greeted him. Jiang Chen smiled and didn't interrupt their work. Instead, he walked directly towards Xia Shiyu's office. What do you think is the relationship between the president and Miss Xia? The cute girl at the front desk poked at her colleague. What? If Miss Xia heard you, she'd cut your bonus. Hee, but if I would guess, it's not that simple. He had knocked before he was given permission to come in with, "Please come in." You are here? Xia Shiyu's tone was rather stiff as she dodged his eyes. A forced smile appeared on Jiang Chen's face. Is it because of yesterday? If it is awkward from now on, it will be problematic. He didn't know why he asked that question. But business first. If he didn't take care of things now in the modern world, it would be hard to take care of the issues after he comes back from the apocalypse. He cleared his throat to break the awkwardness and then spoke as if nothing had happened. What is the current user base of Future 1.0? Xia Shiyu saw that he didn't bring up yesterday's topic, so she secretly felt relieved. Then she picked up a report on the table. Future 1.0's user base already broke through the 200 million mark, but the growth speed is slowing down. She pushed up her glasses as she reported to Jiang Chen with professionalism. Not bad. Then we can go to the next step. Is the application procedure for the game finished? Is the operations team familiar with the game now? Jiang Chen asked as he flipped through the documents Xia Shiyu passed over. The application procedure finished a while ago. As to the operations team, they are familiarizing themselves with the game. Because they only started yesterday, it is still being completed. However, the game you provided has a perfect backend, so the task is almost complete. Looks like Yao Yao did an excellent job. Jiang Chen smiled with the cute girl in mind and continued. What about marketing? It's been ongoing. We have done advertisements and cinematics. Based on the feedback from our official site, the users have high hopes for the landmark mobile game. The post with the highest upvote even said that he is waiting for us to create virtual reality helmets that come from fictional novels, Xia Shiyu said half-jokingly, but it scared Jiang Chen. What, did I say I was going to develop virtual reality? Was this person reborn? Based on this, users have extremely positive opinion about our company's technology. President, are you okay? Xia Shiyu looked Jiang Chen's puzzled expression, confused. She had a trace of worriedness in her tone. Nothing. I just think I should control how much I show off. Jiang Chen forced a laugh. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Xia Shiyu ignored his nonsense words and continued. Then should we introduce the game now? Jiang Chen thought for a moment. I think it's about time. Start the registration and pre-download tonight. The official release will be within this month. You can decide the exact strategy. The bug system in the game is also advanced, so the employees only need to troubleshoot based on the description provided by the system. The operation of the game should have no problems. This is the decision then. New era will come online. Jiang Chen was confident about this game. The introduction of Future 1.0 freed the hardware limitations of the mobile plant, which would foster a series of the high-quality mobile games. This would fundamentally change the mobile game industry. The original popular masterpieces would not necessarily get replaced by the new generation of games, but they would definitely be impacted and forced to make adjustments. It was the perfect opportunity for Future Technology to enter the mobile gaming market. Xia Shiyu nodded as she also believed it was time. The release of the game would also turn the company's current income statement around, which was now in the red. Another key aspect. Do you have any recommendations for the direction of the game? Xia Shiyu had to ask Jiang Chen about the macro development strategy of the company. You can make your own decision. I know you are a lot more knowledgeable than me in regards to operational strategy. Jiang Chen smiled. No, I mean the bigger picture. It is extremely difficult for a mobile game to balance KPI and ACU. Wait, what is KPI? Jiang Chen was at a loss. Xia Shiyu was at a loss too. KPI, Key Performance Indicators. Jiang Chen embarrassedly scratched his head as he realized he was an amateur in business. However, what about ACU? He gulped as he shamelessly asked. Average concurrent user? President, maybe it would be a good idea to learn some fundamentals? Xia Shiyu said, sounding worried. Jiang Chen's face flushed, but it would be impossible for him to admit his small fault in this. Why didn't you just put it in simpler terms? Profit and user base, right? Xia Shiyu's eyes twitched as she sighed. You could interpret it that way. He gave it a thought. You don't have to worry about profit, for now, we don't lack cash. Compared to short-term profits, I care more about long-term sustainable growth. If we have to sacrifice the lifespan of the game for profit, it will undermine the quality of our game. Understood. President and I share the same thought. Since we already have the advantage in technology, no company can copy our game. Therefore, we don't have to worry about the lifespan of a new era for now. Once we establish the first group of users, we can then consider the profit. Xia Xiyu agreed as she took out another piece of documentation. Jiang Chen scanned it as it revolved around the details of the game's operation. For example, the purchase method and game model. It had nothing to do with the game content. Should be okay then. Now that everything is cleared up, I need to go somewhere far away in the next few days. Jiang Chen put the document aside as he was getting ready to leave. Where are you going now? Xia Xiyu sighed as she rubbed her head. Maybe I will tell you one day? Jiang Chen laughed as he walked out of the door, leaving a bewildered Xia Xiyu. How long till that one day comes? Probably when I am powerful enough to go head-to-head with the forces of an entire nation. Chapter 80, Zombies Change. In an instant, the pristine clouds were replaced by the cloudy traditional dust, spider-like cracks crept onto the smooth walls, and the wooden door began to wither away. The animation style changed drastically. The comfort behind his back was the same, but he was on the other side. It was his room in the apocalypse. He sat up on the bed and scanned the clean bedsheets as a smile emerged on his face. There was not the slightest dust. Although he didn't know if it was Yao Yao or Sun Jiao, someone cleaned the place up every day. He picked up the PK-200 resting against the wall, and as if reunited with an old friend, he motioned a few positions with it. The only thing dusty in the room was this rifle. He picked up a towel to wipe it clean before he threw it into the storage dimension. When he pushed open the door, he tiptoed from the corner of the wall. Then he quietly walked to Sun Jiao's room to give the person he hasn't seen for a while a surprise kiss. The surprised voice accompanied by a long-awaited hug. He felt her pounding hard as Jiang Chen hugged Sun Jiao with a smirk. He then followed her to the expanding outer circle. When he stepped onto the brick road in front of the mansion, he always had an indescribable feeling of satisfaction. Just like a king in the Middle Ages, the mansion was his castle. The refugees, who worked hard outside of the castle, were his citizens, and Sun Jiao was the duchess of the castle. Yao Yao in the castle, let's talk about that later. When he stood there before, he could only smell suppression in the air. But now, he felt relaxed. No conspiracy and no need to guess as everyone's heartbeat was captured on his EP. If it was not for the tedious injection procedure and the lack of equipment, he would love to bring a set of slavery microchips to the real world. But just as he pushed open the mansion doors, he was shocked. Why did the expansion stop? Jiang Chen looked at Sun Jiao, troubled by what he saw. The construction material was stacked up on the open ground as the expansion came to a complete halt. The zombies outside were acting weird. Sun Jiao had a stern face as she took Jiang Chen onto the watchtower. Jiang Chen followed the direction Sun Jiao pointed to, and a look of shock appeared on his face. Those zombies? Yes, all of them seemed to be on some hard drug. Sun Jiao picked up a rock and threw it into the distance. The rock made a clunk sound as it hit a car's roof. The zombies nearby immediately turned around and howled and dashed at the car. The car door was deformed by the group of zombies as their dirty hands penetrated through the car window and flipped open the engine cover. After only a while, the zombies realized there were no living creatures and they gradually dispersed. This was in broad daylight. What, can we even leave then? Jiang Chen stared at the hysterical zombies. Now, the zombies finally had a feel similar to Resident Evil. The fierce and bloody pupil seemed to foretell that any living creature who dares to appear in front of them would be ripped to pieces. Or even more vicious than that? The unknown bacteria level is rising in the air. Maybe it's because of this bacteria that the zombies have become so ferocious. There's a possibility that it has blocked the UV, but it doesn't look like it as the vegetation didn't get affected. Sun Jiao frowned as she took over the terminal from the patrolling guard and showed Jiang Chen. Unknown bacteria concentration level, 13. What is this? Jiang Chen asked, feeling puzzled. The terminal is connected to the air detection tower. We bought it from Zhao Corporation. The 6th Street also experienced a similar situation, so Zhao Chenwu thought we would need this. The unknown bacteria that's floating in the air has a similar mechanism to the original zombie bacteria. It could be eliminated by vaccination or through the immune system of people injected with the genetic vaccine. But if the bacteria level passes a certain threshold, it could only be avoided with protective wear. So I bought 150 protective wear, just in case. He followed the direction Sun Jiao pointed to, and Jiang Chen noticed a pitchfork-like detector on top of the residential building. The light green film between the pitchforks slowly rotated. Not bad. But I have a question, I thought zombies would be weakened under UV. Jiang Chen asked with his eyebrows raised. That's right, that is what I am confused about too. Because zombies would also require energy, the mutant bacteria on its neck would react to UV and force most of the body's functions into rest mode and enter photosynthesis. Sun Jiao repeated the common sense everyone knew in the apocalypse. Could it be, this type of bacteria is charging the zombies? Jiang Chen thought for a moment before he suddenly spoke. Sun Jiao was lost. Charging? Through what method? The floating bacteria in the air uses a unique method to complete the photosynthesis effect for the zombie. It then enters the zombie body to be digested, therefore the zombies would always be charged and would no longer require photosynthesis. Sun Jiao gave it a thought. That's possible, although it has no scientific backing. You do have your point. Is the entire Wanghai city like this? Only part of the area. Based on news from the 6th Street, the bacteria seems to be spreading from a source. The saving grace is that the bacteria would not self-divide, so it could only be produced from a source. Based on the concentration spread of the bacteria, if we use triangulation on the map, we are relatively certain that there is an area beside us with a high concentration of bacteria. Most likely, the source of it is there. Sun Jiao took out the full sensory computer and opened the 3D map. A triangular area was marked. What's the closest survival camp? Do they have any reactions? Jiang Chen thought about it as he said with serious concern. A pained smile appeared on her face. We are the closest survival camp. The majority of people belong to community-level survival groups, so we are considered the largest. Currently no action. If we continue to let these things grow, it would be hazardous. We have to find a way to proactively eliminate the source of this bacteria. But now, it doesn't look like we can get out. Jiang Chen watched the zombie-filled streets as distress seeped in. You are right. The bacteria seems to be migrating the zombies to the direction of human settlements. The zombies have already attacked our door for the 6th time within 15 days. Our current trade with other survival groups was forced to stop. The good thing is that there are no zombies in the underground system, so we still managed to maintain the connection with the 6th Street. Sun Jiao looked concerned, but she was out of sorts with these zombies. Zhao Chengwu probably has a headache too. The other exit to the sewerage is at least a couple hundred meters away from the 6th Street. Jiang Chen felt fortunate as he was smart enough to create a corridor with a concrete wall that directly included the exit into the base. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Tell me how the base is growing. Jiang Chen was concerned. The trade differential between Zhao Corporation in September is 10,102 crystal. The total trade amount exceeded 110,000 crystals. The canned food sold very well on the 6th Street. Zhao Chengwu had the intention to significantly increase sales, but I refused on the basis that you headed back to acquire supplies. Because of the halt of the expansion, the construction material had been accumulating. The Zhao Corporation could not pay with crystals, so they proposed to sell us populations at a price of 50 per person for a total of 100 to make up for the remaining payment. The population of the base is at 130. Of course, it didn't include Sun Jiao, Yao Yao, and Jiang Chen. The price increased? The cost of the population increased substantially. The chip price remained the same. Sun Jiao forced a smile. Because of the dangerous external environment and the fact that the 6th Street is planning to eliminate 2 sources near the area, the demand for population increased substantially. How's the soldiers' training? There is a total of 41 that received qualification from the virtual reality training chamber. Everyone is injected with the D-level genetic vaccine and can become part of the force. Sun Jiao called out some data and reported. The bacteria source must be eliminated. Jiang Chen looked into the distance with a gloomy look on his face. I have a feeling that the stuff in the air is only going to increase. Then it would be even harder to approach the source. Then I'll prepare first. Let's make the combat plan today, and then I'll bring a team with me tomorrow. Sun Jiao nodded. I'll go along, Jiang Chen said sternly. No, Sun Jiao rejected without hesitation. Listen to me. With your shooting? My combat power is okay now. Also, I can use my special ability to escape the battle. The most important thing is that I am worried about letting you go alone. Jiang Chen stared into Sun Jiao's eyes as he said seriously. There was a more important reason he didn't explain. He wanted to use the opportunity to meet the survival groups along the way. If Sun Jiao led the negotiation, he had a feeling it would turn into a full-scale combat. On top of that, his combat ability would never increase if he always stayed in safety. When she heard he was worried, Sun Jiao blushed but quickly recollected her thoughts. She debated a little more before sighing in reluctance. Okay, I'll agree to it. Jiang Chen smiled as he gave a thankful look for Sun Jiao's agreement. Ahem. Also, there are not a lot of food at the base. Could you get some more? Sun Jiao awkwardly coughed as she diverted the topic. Food? No problem. Jiang Chen smiled as he disappeared. Sun Jiao had to gather her thought as she stared at the place Jiang Chen vanished from. Fair, if he has this special ability, he would escape from any danger. Sun Jiao felt more at ease. It was the first time. Perhaps the first time was in the underground sewerage. The feeling when she knew he was okay, the time when she placed someone else's life before her own.